There we go. Hey, I got 5 viewers in here. Hey, fantastic. My mic was muted. Sorry about that. And I got a heart already. Hey, things are going really well. Any comments? Comments. Colette. Hi, Colette. How are you? Hey, anyway, I had to do this live stream tonight. And the reason why is every time something remarkable or a new piece of information comes forward about the Stagecoach Inn, I've got to talk about it because what it does is it galvanizes to me the book, this book. It galvanizes what is being said in this book. Last night, a gentleman contacted me, and it was with a lengthy uh, message, and told me that he was born up in that part of the state, just a little west of Ida Grove in 1961. So it makes him like a year younger than me. And then moved to Ida Grove. And he had never heard any of the stories about the Stagecoach Inn. And he went on to say that he knew a lot of the people that I had talked about in the book, but yet he was still just he wasn't aware of the things that went on there. So him and his wife went out to the Stagecoach Inn after purchasing the book and reading it, uh, and he was, I guess, a little full of himself and started walking around the inn, and he was making some uh, kind of mocking the inn, saying, "Hey, ghost, I'm here. Do something." Kind of making fun of the book. And he said that's when something happened. When they went home, his wife had taken some pictures of the of the inn while they were there, and he says, "Tell me, what is it that I'm seeing?" Well, before I show you those pictures, I myself have captured some photos at the inn on the outside of something that appeared to be looking out. And I'll refresh your memory with those. This is one of them. There was a face in a window. I'll get a little bit closer on that. You can see that face in the window there. That was something that I captured a while back, sometime quite a ways back. Um, so anyway, what happened was is this is the north side of the inn. Okay, this is the north side. This is to the north, obviously. I want you to take a look at this photo. The upper left-hand window. Okay, if you can see something in there at the lower left corner of that window, that's what he's referring to. Now, that window is the stagecoach driver's room. The window immediately to the right of it is the window at the top of the staircase, which obviously leads down into the mudroom. About where my logo is positioned, if you would go behind that, uh, that would be Anna's room. That's where I took the photo of whatever face was looking out the window. So, with that said, I'm going to come in a little bit closer and you look at this photo. This is what he sent to me, and he was kind enough to circle it, and this is what it is. And he asked me, he says, "Now, what is this, Alan?" And I said, "Well, it looks like a pareidolia to me. It's where you think you see something that's there that actually isn't. It doesn't really resemble this. This is a little different. I mean, not a whole lot different, but it's still different from this. I'll put these side by side, and you can kind of look at them. There's the picture in the left hand corner. Looks really does. It kind of looks like there might be something in there, but I couldn't really make that determination. So again, it's this made a believer out of this guy, especially when I told him. I said, "Well, it's pareidolia. I think it's something that your brain is trying to make sense of." And I think I galvanized to him that I wasn't as much as I want people to find things at the stagecoach inn. I think I showed him that I am out for evidence, not for just anything that's thrown out there. I was the same way when I did the investigations at the end. If there was something that could have had an explanation to it, I never ever posted it. And I think I gained, well, in fact, I know I did. I gained a follower. He really enjoyed my my way of coming to a conclusion of what that was. I'm going to go here to the comments for a minute. Pam is saying hi to Colette. Super cool, huh? My family was born and raised in Ida Grove. Grandfather's Moorheads Park and Stagecoach Inn back in the 60s and 70s. So looking forward to this. Very cool. Yeah, Susan, Grove, sorry. It's okay. Thomas says, whoa, and thanks. Oh, to the thing, time I played. You must have played in that house, huh? You see, that's just it. I am having a ball with this book. It seems like since I have posted or began to talk about the book more after it was published, more people are suddenly coming forward with their stories. Now, to continue with this very cool, remarkable story, um, this gentleman was kind enough to give me this review, and there was something here that really stuck out on this review, and I'll show you a copy of it. This is a review of the book, and wow, it was somebody that actually got it for a change. I'll let you read that. Uh, it's with great enthusiasm that I highly recommend this book to anyone interested in the paranormal realm. Alan's Cornelson Sr. has put his heart and soul into the diary of darkness that no human being should ever experience. He got it. When I wrote this story, I was trying to create a picture in everybody's mind, every footstep, every breath, every particle of dust that was floating through the air when I told this story. And that's how it should have been told. But that isn't the interesting part. If you've ever read the book, you're going to, and I won't get into it if you haven't read it, but there were a couple cases where one investigator was attacked and another individual got violently, well, I won't say something happened to him. And both of these people, without giving away the story too much, both of these incidents had to do with somebody of color. Okay. And if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to pull up something that he had sent me regarding the Stagecoach Inn, regarding Ida Grove, that regarded something of color. One person, I'll get into it a little bit, okay, not a lot, but I did a small tour there, and there was a couple that showed up, the librarian of Ida Grove and her husband. They black and white marriage, nothing wrong with that. He literally walked inside of the inn, and well, it was bad. Let's just put it that way. It was bad, real bad. And that's as far as I'm going to say. I had to read the book, but it was bad. Now, I'm going to pull this up. This is a message that the same gentleman sent me, and you'll read here. It says, I believe Angelina Scales' husband is who I believe was the black man who became sick. With that, I remember my dad telling me a story about the edge of town where there was a sign as you came into town that said, blacks, don't let sun set here. Wow. That to me galvanized both of these things that happened in my book that I wasn't aware of how that portion of the county, and take in mind the Stagecoach Inn would have been right at the edge of town. That's where the town starts, is right there at the inn. And I made the comment at the time that I felt that there was a little bit of bigotry going on there. Anyway, again, somebody else had come forward and told me another layer of the darkness that surrounds that area of the Stagecoach Inn. Not only the inn, but that area in general. I've heard stories of people back in the 1800s, after the Moorheads left. We're talking, 1891ish, almost 1900s. People that were angry with each other there in Ida Grove. One person poisoned somebody else's well to kill him. There was a lot of death and murders in that county, and I it's just one story after another, and it all starts to revolve back into the Stagecoach Inn. Let me see. You got somebody else here that's uh Cola said it's a fad book, Alan. I love both books. Brilliant. Thank you. Wow, I think it's all the times I played. Thomas, I would really, really enjoy to hear any of your stories about anything that, in particular, that happened to you while you were there at the Stagecoach Inn. I really would. That's how I write. In fact, this gentleman, this family that read my book, they're hoping I write something else. In fact, we're going to try for me to do a book signing up there in Ida Grove. They know the librarian up there. I might try to get to the library this spring, bring some books with me, and we'll see where it goes from there. But that's kind of a little bit about what I wanted to talk about tonight. Now, it's I don't know if you've seen this clip, but this is another person that when I was there at the inn that came forward. I was getting ready to do an investigation there, and her name was Anna, I believe. And she came forward to me while I was at the inn, and this is a story that she had to tell. This is a real short clip of a longer clip, so just bear with it for just a moment.
Back in November of last year, 2017, I took my little brothers and sisters here for the first time. I told them a little bit about the history, and I also showed them through the windows and kind of explained what each room was about. My 6-year-old little sister explained to me how she saw a young boy dressed up in very old-fashioned school clothes. We're talking about old-fashioned boots, the shorts, looks like a white little t-shirt and suspenders. I didn't want to tell her much about it, but I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she was just like, oh, okay. So this is not uncommon for people they read the book. A lot of people aren't even aware that I wrote a book about this place, as I refer to it. I have a lot of followers there in Ida Grove that are not even aware of what the Stagecoach Inn was all about. And they go, you know what? I can tell you about a time that my grandfather told me this or told me that. Last time I came on, I think I talked a little bit about the Stagecoach Inn, a stagecoach actually coming to the inn that was robbed. And the gentleman that robbed it was shot. They shot him. He escaped. He got away with some gold. And of course, the driver showed up at the end. They told their accounts of what happened. The following day, a gentleman showed up at the inn. He had been shot, and he was treated at the inn because it served as a hospital back in the 1800s. And he made mention that, yeah, I robbed the inn, I stole the gold, and I buried it. And then he died. I had a friend of mine, you might know her, Dr. Rebecca Foster, who is a clairvoyant medium. I told her a little bit about it. She says, you know what? She says, it's there. That gold is there. And so she starts telling me about the dynamics of the area. And she's never been there before. And she's like spot on with all these locations. The gold's there. And I think this person is still there at the end and could quite possibly be something that's actually still lingering there. So I really don't know. I do know that I tried desperately to get investigators to come and investigate this place that I wrote about because I wanted it validated. Not a lot of people showed up. And I found this just I don't know, a week or so ago, but it was the last time that I investigated the inn. And here's a little bit of that clip. It's really not an investigation. It's just my thoughts about this incredibly active place with this incredibly interesting story.
Okay, it's late, and I've had enough for the night. I'm not going to pursue this any further. I've had the motion sensor go off basically on command on several instances, and I think that I've got enough, and I've proved again that the Stagecoach Inn is active, and it revolves around the staircase. I am confident in saying that the Stagecoach Inn is probably one of the more active locations in northwest Iowa. And I really feel bad that there isn't more people that have had the opportunity to come out here and investigate this place. Because, quite honestly, it never ceases to amaze me what goes on inside this location. Every time I come in here, it's different. Something new happens. So, anyway, we're done for the night. And it's been an experience, and I'm glad that I was able to come out here at least one more time and prove that there is paranormal activity. There is some kind of activity going on inside the Stagecoach Inn.
And there obviously is. Unfortunately, I just read somebody's comment that said road trip. It's no longer open to investigations. It hasn't been now for several years. I'm guessing close to what? I've lived in this place now 2 years, and in place for about 6 years is the last time. That's when I went up and did a final investigation there. That galvanized to me that nobody needs to investigate there, and the Historical Society agreed with me. What I refer to as the old guard. They did not want those kind of negative things to be talked about with their little revered, corner of Ida Grove. It was a cornerstone. The Stagecoach Inn is indeed the cornerstone of Ida Grove. It's this place right here, right here. It's just incredibly active. It doesn't need to be investigated anymore. If it does, it needs to be investigated with some very high caliber people. I don't know if I'd even be able to get those kind of people in there. Get the book, folks. It's called In Too Deep, and I was in way too deep. I've told this story 100 times now. I've investigated since 1982. It's 4 decades of investigating the paranormal. I really thought I knew what I was doing until I came to this place, and it kicked my ass. And now I call myself a novice in the paranormal. I do not think I know anything about anything. I know enough to know that I don't know enough. Let's put it that way. This is the closest you're going to get to investigating the Stagecoach Inn. I do have another book coming out. It's called In Conflict. It was my last investigation. I think I have maybe I don't. It was my last investigation there a long time ago. It's right here, In Conflict. And basically what it talks about, it's my struggle to go back to make one last investigation of the Stagecoach Inn, and it's basically it was my hell again, but it didn't involve the investigation. It involved the trip to try to go back and investigate one more time, and then the last final 2 chapters, I think, is the actual investigation of the Stagecoach Inn. And I got to tell you, that one last night was more than enough to tell me that nobody needs to be put through that kind of hell. As it was said in that great review that was given to me, they really read the book. They used all my all of my taglines that I like to use. You decide, that place, They referred to all those things when they made that wonderful testimonial about the book. So for those of you who don't know much about the book, I've got this really cool trailer. I'm going to show that to you for a second while I get a cup of coffee. Two things I'd like to say. Yes, Susan, I would love to meet you. And secondly, in that little teaser, that book trailer, you see that spinning wheel that turns. That actually happened inside the inn. A little backstory on that. I was there investigating, trying to figure out why my vibration sensors and other devices would go off on the staircase. I was there during the day, the daylight hours. I don't have the clip, unfortunately, with me right here. If you go to the Dark River Paranormal page, you can find it. But I was in there and just happened to pan over back into that what they call the school classroom area, and you could see that spinning wheel, and it goes backwards a little bit, and then it goes forward rapidly. And if you've ever been to a place where historical type, what do you call them, reenactment location, historical places, and they do reenactments of things. You might see somebody that does a spinning wheel, or they do things from the 1800s and kind of show people how people of that era, functioned. You will see that they pull the spinning wheel back and then they give it a little throw forward to get it moving. And that's exactly what that spinning wheel did. And it took everything I had to stand my ground with that camera. I was criticized for not stepping forward to see what was around the corner. But if you look at the video, you can see that there's nobody there. There's no hands or anything that's moving that spinning wheel. It did it on its own. I was just trying to hold my ground. I was literally, in my mind, I was trying to nail my shoes to the floor. And this is broad daylight. I to this day, I don't know how that happened, but it did. And yes, Susan, I'd like to meet you. I'd sign a book. And who's Tom? Oh, Thomas Greer. Oh, okay. You two must be related, husband and wife, maybe. I don't know. Very cool. So anyway, that's all. That's really all the big news was that I wanted to talk about. It was just whenever somebody comes forward and they tell me a little more information that ties to my book, it just galvanizes to me that I witnessed all of this. I mean, to myself, sometimes I think, did that really happen? Yeah, it did. It really happened. All of it. I documented all of it. I got video. Everything that you find in this book, you will find in videos that happened there, the captures, everything, the people that I talked to. I had a guy, his name was Leroy Bond. And this gentleman that actually wrote me that email knows Leroy. He lives right next door. He never knew Leroy was out there when he was a kid. Leroy seen something out there, but he referred to as two red eyes. They were just floating in the air. Him and some friends of his, they wanted to spend the night out there. Leroy is one of the bravest men I know. He ended up getting, I think it was 3 Bronze Stars and 3 Purple Hearts in Vietnam. He was a tunnel rat. He went down in tunnels and looked for Viet Cong. He had no fear. In fact, he killed a colonel in one of those things, one of those tunnels, and drug him out. It was pretty graphic the way that he described it. And to this day, he will not go inside the Stagecoach Inn. He just won't do it. He said that if he's seen the same thing, he says he's not going to tempt something he does not understand. I will not tempt something I do not understand. That was his exact words. He said he would bust glass to get out of there, to leave. whatever it was him and his buddies seen that night horrified him. When they had their flashlights and they shined them, what he said, shone them is the way he described it, shone it in the direction of those lights. There was no substance above or below the eyes. They were completely suspended and they were moving towards him. So it's all in the book. You can get that book on Amazon, or you can contact me personally right here on the Dark River Paranormal page. You can just message me. We could have a nice phone conversation. I got what they call the Square. I don't use PayPal. I use a Square, and I can personalize your book. This happens to be a hardcover. I have hards. I have soft. The paperbacks. The hardcovers are more expensive for obvious reasons. They're hardcovers. That was kind of out of my wheelhouse as far as pricing them goes. But anyway, that's what I wanted to come in here and talk about tonight was this comment this guy made about that blacks should not be in town when the sun goes down. In other words, they just weren't welcome there. And after knowing what I wrote about in this book and not knowing that really brings things together for me, that there is a lot of darkness that went on at the Stagecoach Inn. On a further note, or another note, as a lot of you might know, I do work with a gentleman named Robert Ghost Gear. He's developed a lot of really cool things, like this little guy right here. This is the ultrasonic, right here, the ultrasonic motion sensor from Ghost Gear. He's also going to be working with me on recreating the Mag-D, this device. The Mag-D is actually it's two versions of it here. I got the smaller version, the bigger version. The smaller version broke a long time ago, and I created that big one. And we're going to recreate that guy. And let me tell you what, this thing's a flamethrower. It puts out a lot of EM, a ton of EM, and it's something that I built. It was full of wires, but Robert's an engineer, and he's going to put a board in it. We're going to recreate it, and it's going to be really cool. And you might want to look for that coming out in the next year or so, maybe. I work with Ghost Gear a lot right now, experimenting with some of their equipment. I will be going down to Tennessee come April. I've been asked to come down there to investigate a location supposed to be haunted. It's never been investigated before. Nobody's ever been in there before. They have found a lot of articles of clothing in the walls. A lot of the stuff that's going on down there mirrors the Stagecoach Inn. There's train tracks that fall just right behind this house, and these train tracks were there during the Civil War, and there were, I guess, some battles that went on right there at that location. It was also very populated with Cherokee Indians at the time. There was also a witch that was killed there and buried in an unmarked grave. There are just rocks that are piled on her grave in the cemetery. It's completely unmarked, but yes, there is a witch that has been buried at this location, and I will be investigating it with Robert from Ghost Gear, who's also now part of Dark River Paranormal. So again, one more time, I'll just kind of pass over what we've talked about. A gentleman notified me he was a skeptic, and now he is not. He says he is a complete true follower of the Dark River Paranormal page. He took a picture that resembled this, but it looks like this instead. Where I feel it's just pareidolia. I do, but people can draw their own conclusions, because as he told me in his statement, he says, you decide. And if you read the book, you'll understand where that comes from. So I thoroughly enjoyed his review. I thoroughly enjoy all of you who come in and stop in just for a moment to see me babble a little bit about the Stagecoach Inn and what I'm doing and where I'm going and all them things. I greatly appreciate it. So, with that, I think I'm going to, this spring, try to get back up to Ida Grove, maybe do a book show up there, do a little seminar on the inn if they allow me, if they don't run me off with pitchforks and torches like I've always said in the past. some of the older historical society members just don't like me that much. I got a new book coming out called In Conflict. That book is this book here. It chronicles my next investigation, my last investigation of the Stagecoach Inn, this place right here. And, well, we'll just leave it at that. So until the next time, be safe. If you're investigating tonight, next week, be safe, please. Be kind to each other and stay spooky. Talk to you later.